Okay, guys, this is especially to all my friends and followers that's been here following me for a while. And any newcomer as well, because this is really powerful. If you sit down and listen very carefully, you're going to learn a lot of things about what's going on in life at the moment and how it affects you and everybody else around you. I just put up a post on both my witness page, and Street Wisdom Bible of Alex Jones interviewing with Joe Rogan. Now, I've seen few clips of these, and you probably have too, but this is a more extensive explanation, which is an explanation I've been giving here for a long time. Now, I want you to consider something, guys. Okay, just consider for a moment. The Testimony of a Drug Lord Reborn, okay? In this book, you don't know what's in this book. And without reading it, you'll never know, okay? But let me tell you something. This goes back to Sumerian tablets. It goes back to human history. It goes back to when it all began. And that's what my book's all about, right? It's about genetic memory and the loss of our genetic memory. And I found the truth serum, the most powerful truth serum in the world. Okay, but I didn't find it by myself. NASA, 2 top scientists from NASA came into Almore, Brisbane, Australia, and started a program down there for many years I've explained a lot about. And I became the one selected. And I'll say this how it is. I was selected. And everything about my life's been a natural selection, right? I can't explain it any other way. But I went through my life being selected for certain things and went through a path for a reason, to learn about things that nobody else knows anything about. And this is a fact, like I can't get attention because I'm not famous. And in fact, I'm being suppressed, one of the most suppressed people in the world, and oppressed on shadow ban. And that's because people can't really understand me, right? But the same stuff I've been talking about for a long time is exactly the same thing we're hearing worldwide now, even on Joe Rogan with Alex Jones. Now, I want you to think about something. We become very high in our IQ, right? And this is what Alex Jones says. The people most demonic are the ones with high IQ. This is what I've been saying to you. Okay, they're more into artificial intelligence, evolution, mutation, and atheism. The higher IQ they are, the less feelings they have, the less moral guilt and shame they have. And if you think about Nefarious, the documentary, there's different levels of consent. And it's the consent you give to AI, artificial intelligence, or the tree of knowledge, right? And what consent you don't give. That's why people are so confused about these things, because it's about the consent they've given for their life. And what they're facing today are with demonic spirits and personalities that's embedded in their DNA. All those voices in your mind that tell you do it and don't do it, it's good and bad voices, right? Good and bad ancestry tools, ancestors in your DNA. People that keep coming back in a reincarnation trap and don't know what they're doing. And it's all catching up with us here today. We're in judgment right now in the end times, and we're facing every demon that we've been dealing with for thousands of years. And that's the best way to explain it, because a lot of people don't explain this correct, but all these entities with extraterrestrial and all this talk, right? You can go in my timeline on Kim Lake and see the latest videos about chemtrail. Where chemtrail, we know for a fact it doesn't harm humans and it doesn't harm the planet neither. It's a mentality. It's the way people think, right? With stress, fear, and anxiety, and over-exaggeration with the science. And the science can be really evil and come up with the most evil answers as well, which can delude us so much. If we're in that mentality, right, in a personality, and not in our spirituality, things can go awfully wrong with us. And that's the problem here. People live in mentality and personality, not in spirituality, and they've lost their concept and their EMP pulses. EMP is the most critical thing in the world right now. We talk about G5 and EMP. EMP, electronic pollution worldwide, and all the pulses that are here. Well, you have to listen to certain things about what I'm saying to you. I made 10 critical videos, right? Completion of 1 to 10. Okay, the book of Numbers through the Bible. I did it for a reason, right? Because I'm far more advanced than anyone, so I can use 100% of my brain. And I can think outside the mind with remote view, mental telepathy, ESP, and things that come out of the blue with what we call an alien intelligence. But listen, what if you have demonic spirits here and also good watchers to watch over us? Because that's how it is. And Alex Jones explains this, and so does the documents from CIA and Pentagon and the whole lot. This is what I'm saying. This is documented really, really deep. When you get into the Sumerian tablets and you're starting to go into ancient history about ancient potions and wizards, right? Enoch himself was a wizard. Okay, and Moses, he knew how to use bread manna, which comes from a plant called mayang, which is a conducting agency, MR technology. And that's what we develop. Okay, Christ and Moses use this, and it's an organic product to conduct with, and it's an enlightenment drug. And they used it on super soldiers in methamphetamine in the militaries, right? But it started with the original product, and then they made synthetics. And some of the synthetics are far more powerful, but the wrong entity with Prama. That's why Prama and any synthetic products that we use, right, destroys us. Now, think about our farming worldwide. Everyone's complaining about stop farming. Do you know how much nutrition, nitrogen, and how many chemicals are in our farming? Our fauna has collapsed between 38 and 90% worldwide. And the most powerful fauna in the world is in the outback of Australia, with the Australian Aborigines, the most positive human beings on earth, that grows 10 times more fruit and 10 times more nutrition value, because they bear the right fruit themselves and have the aura with that kind of relationship. And the same with the Mayan jungles. And we've seen Joe Rogan with Graham Hancock, right, where they come back with a study from the Mayan jungles and couldn't believe the soil there, how much more it's advanced than anywhere else on the planet. And that's been on Joe Rogan as well. So the fauna there is magnificent with the molecules and the right molecules, right? And we lost our nutritional value between 38 and 9% worldwide. And that means we lose our magnetic pulses as well. We lose everything in our biology with defective genes. And that's coming out of control with mental disorders and DDVX and drug pandemics worldwide. And confusion, frustration, delusion, paranoia, and a communication breakdown worldwide. And it's affecting balls so much you've got no idea. And this is why I'm saying to you, I know this is so sad, and it is sadder than you think. And a lot of people find this very, very difficult to fathom, right? And that's what we're all going through right now. It's a sorrow. It's an age of being very, very sorry at the moment, and a lot of stress and fear that's affecting all of us, because that's the atmosphere we're in. Okay, and it's controlling the whole world in a delusional, right, state where most people are bored it, but they're all going through the same thing. And that's what's happening worldwide. And some people just don't know what to think anymore and are so scared. They're very, very angry or firm about things. Like, people follow the masses in hospitals and all that, right? You know, they just follow the system, and they're very blunt today, right? Very, very blunt. And we discover that with job centers and medical fields and doctors and that, they're very blunt with things, right? Because they just follow the system all the time and what they're told. And that's the only thing they believe in. They even say it all the time. They believe in the system. They believe in the science. They believe in the medication. They believe in the professors. And they're so firm on this that spirituality's gone. You know, the real love in humanity and relationships, it's fallen apart all over the world. You saw that in 220, right? It was a great time to realize how many people separate with their family, loved ones and friends. And we're all going through this, every one of us. Every single one of us is going through this. Look, I've been bleeding in my throat. Really bad, coughing up blood every day, okay? But I've gone through a lot worse than this, okay? I've got stage 4 lung and throat cancer, and I'm battling it really, really hard, okay? I've had it now for, 3 years, Mary? About 3 years, right? I come here every day, but Maren dropped the other day. You heard about this, right? A week ago, she stopped breathing. Her heart stopped and her breathing stopped completely. She flatlined. And she shit all over the place and vomited all over the place when she came back. She was emptied right out. She flatlined big time. And we haven't been right since then. Both of us has gone through, you know, a different mindset since that happened. And it's all easy to talk about it, but it takes a few days to settle in. And this is the EMP pulse that's affecting all of us with the whole families and friends, because we don't let go, right, of our family, loved ones and friends, and we know. And we know what's going on in the world because we can feel the truth. And the mind goes fucking crazy, man. When you start feeling so much truth and you become hypersensitive. When you get fully activated back in your primal state, you become so hypersensitive, people get insomnia, vertigo, right, fatigue, and Hawaiian syndromes where people lose all their magnetic pulse, right? So they're losing their magnetic pulse, and that's escalating. The peer reports in hospitals worldwide. They call it a zombie apocalypse or a body snatching virus, right? And when we talk about aliens and demonic spirits coming into our body cells, mologolems, delusional parasitosis, I put up a video the other day about the vaccinations and what she said about mologolems for 30 years, and I told you we discovered mologolems. We were the first people to discover it, right? When I created the most powerful enlightenment drug, That's the first time we saw golems come out, because when we created the most positive fields with the enlightenment drug, it came through the skin, it came out of their body. So golems, delusion power stones, came out. Think about this. Not going in, but came out. So when I tell you the boogerman, the monster beard, is a demonic spirit, right? We get introduced to a dark entity. Okay, as a child, we can feel the truth, and some people see the shadows. And kids have imaginary friends for a lifetime, right? Some have friends like this, right? Because we have demonic spirits and we have good spirits that come to us. And that's what I told you. When I was a child, when the boogerman came to me, I saw the shadow with green beady eyes, and he scared the living shit out of me. This is what he looked like. He looked like this in cloth clothes, right? And I couldn't see his face, but when he came up close, I could see his eyes like a hologram, right? And scared the fuck out of me. But then an orb of light came in the window, right? A beautiful orb of light. And I was 5 years old and innocent. Totally innocent, right? I'm shit scared of the boogeyman. But he never touched me, right? He just scared the fucking living shit out of me. But one thing I learned was when my mum came in and said, don't worry, it's just a dream, go back to sleep. He was hovering over her, just like that movie in the restaurant where the kid sees the shadow. And if you look at the shadow controlling everyone else, the kid can see him, right? In that movie. So if you think about the Green Mile, where the black fella, he represents Christ with the holy breath of life, he pulls nefarious right out of Tom Hanks, the best person in there. So we all have nefarious. And that's my point. That's why I use these in metaphor, to identify things for you in metaphor correctly. Keanu Reeves represents in the first Matrix, he represents, it's a documentary of the resurrection. So he's in a spirituality and celestial primordial state and controls his vessel from the outside in, instead of being trapped in the personality and mentality, which is the whole world today, right? The last human being born on earth that can use their genetic process and genetic memory to understand how to let the celestial primordial being control your vessel. They're the ones with mental telepathy, ESP, remote you, and telekinesis, levitation, spoon bending, clock winding, because they can mastermind with deja vu and predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. And when you can mastermind, you use 100% of your brain. Okay, that's what I represent to you with the movie Limitless, when we develop mana, where you can use 100% of your brain with a vortex of information with a universal language. That's why I bring you all this in metaphor, right? So you can understand things through these movies with visions and dreams, because I understand these things with metaphor, with that kind of universal connection and that kind of language that gives us the power, right? The divine power to command nature, so we're in charge of our vessel and not someone else, because we can only 7 to 15% of brain, and that means someone else is in charge of our mind without even realizing it, because we listen to the voice of mind, believe in our own truth, manifest our own truth, and come to our own conclusion with reasoning. And reasoning is the age of nefarious, because it's 5 senses and negative feels. Your consciousness is unaware of the outside influence. It's only mentality, a middle process, illusion, imagination set up by the Rockefellers into the condensing layer by WF. And that's Hitler's plan. So if you listen to what Joe Rogan's saying, or Alex Jones, about Hitler, you understand what Hitler's plan is that Harari wants to do, and calls it an alien intelligence. And he says we want to create Hitler's plan and create our own gods with their own divine power creation of destruction. And that's what he's saying about the whole system the government's running into. Hitler's plan. And Hitler's plan was Gilgamesh's plan. That's how they controlled the population back in Babylon. And the same with the Persian, the Greeks, and Roman days, and especially the Pharaoh days, when everybody suffered the human condition from the demons in the mind that controlled them. 40,000 Israelites suffered the human condition with serpents in the mind. Demonic spirits in here, right? And that's what I'm saying to you. As Akakoli says, it's a demonic spirit, and the conscious unaware of what controls our reality. And that's what Jim McGill says. You must think instinctively and think outside the mind, like the movie Matrix, right? And he wrote the book Freedom of the Cure Human Condition, that found the large human beings born on earth that can think instinctively, and no weapon formed against can prosper. Okay? No weapons formed against you can prosper. Only if you allow it. Only if you give it consent. Now, I'm sitting here with stage 4 cancer, okay, and gone through a lot of things myself, because I know the atmosphere is collapsing. I know the aura in people's collapsed. They're just walking vessels and lost. So that's why I tell you about my most critical 10 videos where, you know, my brother's bus accident, the Kempsey bus accident that stopped Australia, where 20 people died in his bus, 19 people came to say goodbye to him, and his wife was the last one. What did she say? She said the driver went to the abyss that was responsible for the accident, okay, and the others were going to get one more final opportunity. It was their last opportunity. That was 1990, 27 January 1990, right? Now, just think about that for a moment, because God created most powerful confirmation with this. And it's on the front page of the paper by Dr. Wright, and also the head of the Queensland Mental Health Board, which was 2 atheists and top surgeons in the world. And they put an article in the paper that they were there, and they confirmed that 19 people said goodbye to was the first name of a person that died on the bus. And my brother didn't know him. He had a death experience. He was in a 3.5-week coma, and then he had a flat line, and then this happened over 10 days. He didn't talk to me for 27 years, and 27 years later, he tells me he was sent back from heaven to earth because of me, and he blamed me for 27 years. Right? And so I suffered those consequences for 27 years, right to the day. And the astonishing part about this, if you think about me bringing my wife back to life in 1992, and I didn't even know, okay, and she was given 0% chance of living, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And she rose to the most powerful opponent in 2003, the one and only. And I had no idea. I had no idea that I had an angel watching over me like this, that I had an influence on my reality that gave me such many divine intervention and so much divine power. I became the biggest mastermind in the underground world, right, by the biggest think tank, right, on the Star Champion Inquiry, in the Gatekeeper Report, #1. And that's not my fault, that's how it is. But it's reality. Okay, I died in 2012 and go through a strange phenomenon, which a lot of people did. And that's when our ancestries, genetic ancestries, took over our vessel with a possession. And then they control our vessel. We went through a transformation. And I went through a transformation for 3.5 years, and I didn't know what was going on. Trust me, I had no idea what was going on. And it was a massive awakening from amnesia where Kim died. I died. My personality, my mentality died that day. And there's no other way to explain this. I went through a strange event that's hard to explain, and through a transformation where I was going in and out of different timelines with different memories and vortex of information coming out of the blue, like the movie Limitless. And I had no idea what was going on, right? I was like, what's going on, man? And going from 7 to 10% of your brain, right, to 100%, and a whole different way of thinking is one hell of a transformation. And it's like one hell of a wow factor. And you're going through something you can't even explain. You must go through that experience yourself. When I died, it was the 3rd time I was clinically dead. 23 minutes, I woke up in hospital, 36 hours later told I'd never walk again, powerless down, got up and walked out. And then 3.5 years later, I'm sitting down with 2 top bowlers, right, and 2 biggest think tank people in a secret meeting at Perth Hospital. And then they're telling me in a 34-year study and DNA study, I'm one of a kind. One of a kind. And I brought the cure of the human condition of humanity in 2008 in a study done when I was in prison, in my DNA, by the biggest think tank in the world, right? The words for Jeremy Griffiths and the top psychiatrist in the world. And that's when I found out things about myself. Okay, that's when I learned things. That's so far beyond the mind. The mind is can't understand these things. You know, I was at a top of my game in the underground world. I was a top predator, #1 predator, A1, in every single level already. But I went to jail in the biggest mental health research ever conducted and sat in prison, which I've made a lot of use about. That's why I urge you to watch 1 to 10 completion and listen to me very carefully. I explain every single thing about my path that relates to the book of Numbers and the Bible for a reason, because I was put through that path and through all those experiences to experience all these terrible, nasty things and the walk of life that I went through, but also to have a much greater understanding of life in a way that nobody else does. Okay, and that's what's critical to you. My book and me being here is all about you, not me. It's all about helping you through this process. And I can guarantee you, if you look at the testimonies from my followers, right, they're just starting to go through the resurrection now and the crossover, right? And it's the most critical thing in the world where no weapon formed against you can prosper ever again. Because I know. And I'm the most powerful mastermind in the world that knows. And because I know, it's because I know with the experience, wisdom and knowledge that you require, that you do not have. You do not have the experience, wisdom, or that knowledge that I do have. And I'm going through a transformation myself every day, no different than anyone else. That's my whole point. When I tell you loud and clear, I have a genetic memory, I'm the son of Christ, son of David, son of Abraham, then you have to listen to what I'm saying to you. Because you have the same genetic process. So if you listen to what I say and practice what I preach, okay, pray to Christ. Bring him into your heart when you meditate on the 40 days of fasting, right? And you listen to Jeremy Griffiths, right, with the book Freedom on Audio, and you do When I Breathe in programs to recreate the sacred secretion and the holy breath of life to restore your biofields, to restore your genetic process and genetic memory, to make natural selection. And for 40 days when you don't eat and go through the process, you eliminate your unnatural selections, right? And everything in your mind. And you break free from amnesia and reincarnation trap. And you know what? It's a hell of an experience where you end right back up as a child. And that's a fact. Like you're beginning all over again. And you revise your perception about everything you come to learn since a child. And you're actually going through judgment yourself. Dead set. Everything you've been avoiding your whole life, you face. You repent for every single thing. That means go back. And you realize it's not about what you've done. It's about why you did it. Okay? Why did you do it? It's not about all your guilt factors. It's about what led you down that path to do it to begin with. That's what you have to recognize. Not living and dwell on your guilt and all your fucking problems in the world and the shit you can with mental disorders and DDX and trapped in mentality and a personality where we all do not know what we do. It's not about suffering, because at the end of the day, you're a loving, compassionate human being, right, with genuine loyalty, honor, respect, morals, inspiration, and encouragement. That's who you really are. And what's happened here is we've had a terrible human experience. And that's the best way to look at it. No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what you believe and what you don't believe in, doesn't matter. Religious, political cults, New Age behavior, we're all affected by this to one degree or another. And if we can have that great understanding to understand that we do not know what we're doing in here, and when you break from the mind and think outside the mind, wow, it's liberation, right? But you're going through a transformation that isn't easy, because we're still here on this planet, right? With everybody else defected. Gene defects to the shithouse, mental disorders to the shithouse, stress and anxiety, right? Affecting fauna and nature and sending animals around circles around the earth, birds falling out the sky with vertigo, and Hawaiian syndromes worldwide with fish going around the earth circles in the oceans, and fauna collapsing. It's affecting all of us, man. Every single one of us to one degree or another. And it's also accelerating. And that's why I'm telling you, the sixth mass extinction is being stripped from the sixth sense for the sixth time isn't a joke, because it's affecting everything in the world. And our sixth sense is the most critical thing in the world. Right? Our spirituality has 10 times more power than what we realize in the most positive fields. And when we're not using the right EMP pulse, we're not using the right EMP pulse. It's as simple as that. We're using artificial intelligence, and most people do. They select that, and it's wrong. Body and mind and radio waves and frequencies and sounds, it's just another band-aid like a drug is. It's all part of the New Age crap. It's all part of what the Babylonian business is all about. It's all about WF, right, being trapped in the conscious mind. That's only a mental event, a mental process, an illusion, imagination. And that's why doctors and scientists believe in radio waves, sounds and frequencies, and don't think it's love. They think the most powerful enlightenment is authenticity. Authenticity is a fancy word for honesty. Honesty, I can honestly kill you tomorrow and plead authentic tomorrow the next day, right? Authentically guilty the next day. It's only a fancy word for honesty, but it isn't righteousness. And when you mold languages, you end up in the wrong EMP pulse yourself from your own grammar and what you select with artificial intelligence and atheism tools, and it becomes artificial and affects every generation worse and worse and worse, from 2% mental disorders and DDVX to 98% today, because our voltage reliability in our body cells is anti-clockwise, and our body cells can corrupt during the daytime and can only be at nighttime for 3.5 hours. And some people can repair 24 hours a day, and they're the ones that are far more advanced than anybody else in the world is. So let's stick with DNA, the Book of Life declared worldwide by Jeremy Griffiths and 16,000 top scholars on the same page for the first time in human history, with natural selection and a natural order, right? That's what we're here for. If you choose anything else, you're unnatural, and most people are choosing, right, the unnatural selection and replacement with intelligent design by AI, and that's their choice because they don't have real faith. But many people are so afraid of death, they're willing to go into these new avatars, go into new robots and artificial intelligence with hybrids and all that sort of crap, because it's the only answer for them. They've got so much fear controlling them that they can sell this product now worldwide, and they're selling it. Just like Babylon, man, Hitler's plan, Harari's plan, and that's what the government's into. Artificial intelligence, right? MR technology, radio waves, and guess what? This is where you need to listen to me. I've been tested to the maximum where they use the Gauze of God weapon on me and radio waves and try to kill me, right? Okay, and they try to possess me by stealing my contents because they knew I was at the top level. In the mastermind report, I'm number 1. So in 2012, they tried to use the Voice of God weapon with radio waves and Bluetooth to steal my contents. knowing that I had 7 peer reports I could do things that no one else in the world could do by the biggest think tank in the world, the shadow governments in the Star Chamber Inquiry. They knew who I was. They had the most powerful documents by the biggest think tank in the Star Chamber Inquiry with godlike power. So they wanted my conscious thoughts more than anyone. The abilities that I have is what they tried to take in 2012 when the CERN machine spun up with the World Wide Web, with a great precision that went worldwide to some people that's targeted. And we were targeted. But that's when we woke up from amnesia instead, right? And beat the system. Think about what I'm saying to you. When they turned up the CERN machine to full power to steal our contents, they tried to steal my soul, right? Because they came and possessed my body and got body snatched and got put out of my body. And nothing in the world ever prepared me for that. But I can tell you now, I took my body back, beat the death experience, was paralyzed my neck down, got up and walked out, and DNA proved it solid with rock solid evidence, right? 3.5 years later in that meeting. Number 1 worldwide. Primordial being with that kind of power, divine power, as far as they're concerned on records. Then, the day after, I had the most powerful divine intervention where I told you an orbital light came to me in Perth, detention centre, and Fabian was being deported to Argentina, shit scared, and the orbital light possessed me again, and I put my arm on his shoulder and said, "Don't worry, Fabian, you're going home to your mum." And I had no control of this. I didn't even know what I was saying. I was not in control of my own vessel at all. But that's what happened. I got possessed, and I said, "Don't worry." And this orbital light came in, and Fabian went, "Wow, oh wow." He was shit scared. But when that orbital light came in, it was just like when I was a child. When I was shit scared of the boogeyman, the orbital light came in, and wow, I was saved in a heartbeat, and the boogeyman left with the orbital light and never bothered me again. However, put me through the process of being possessed that day. It's exactly what happened by the boogeyman. He possessed me, right, to wake me up from amnesia and realize he drove me right into the sun when I died, and the sun saved me. And the sun put me through a process for 3.5 years, which is Christ himself. And then this day, the orbital light that came to save me when I was a child, it was the same process. The boogeyman came to scare the living shit out of me. And that's the Father, I'll do anything. What does Christ say? He says, the only God is his Father. The Father's God in him. And he says, Satan is God of this planet, in him as well. So he has 2 entities inside him. The same God, the Father and the fairies, the boogeyman, right? And that's the 2 serpents, right? The same Father, okay? The cross service, when you understand this and you follow the Son, because the Father would sacrifice everything in life and he'll do the most treacherous evil things to you to drive you into the sun. He'll scare the fuck out of you. I knew who the boogeyman was because I could see him, and he's controlling my parents and everyone that come to the door. Okay, and same with people at school. And I saw it, and because I saw it, because I knew at 5 years old, the sun came to me in the orb of light and saved me. And wow, I was shit scared and went, wow. And Fabian done exactly the same thing. He was shit scared at the time, being deported to Argentina with no family, no welfare system with 55 IQ. He was shit scared. And then the orb of light came in, right? And I got possessed in that moment. I put my hand on his shoulder and said, "Don't worry, it's Fabian, you're going home to your son." Home to your mum, sorry. And he goes home. That miracle was created, right? To confirm it. Fabian went home to his mum in Sydney. But then I wrote 3 official letters I was told to write to Border Security, Immigration, and the governments. And what did I do? I wrote those 3 official letters. I was being unlawfully deported to Denmark with 3 lots of lawyers threatened by the Immigration Department. I've gone to a lot of information about this. Watch the 10 videos. So I get unlawfully deported, right? Okay? And, you know, the next day I go to hospital and find out I'm number 1 by these top experts in a secret meeting. This happens the next day. I get told to write these 3 letters. The orbite comes down close to me when Fabian goes, wow, Kim, don't tell anyone. No, I don't believe it. And Fabian ran out the room, and I'm like trying to revise my perception. What happened here? I couldn't understand it. He's shit scared, and then all of a sudden he's happy as Larry, and he saw the orbite and he's like, wow. And I saw the same look in his face that I had when I was a child, which amazed me, right? And I spoke to Fabian a couple of hours later, and I'll tell you, we had a conversation you would not believe. And I made videos about that too. But at the end of the day, as he went home, and that day I wrote 3 official letters, right? 3 official letters, because I was told to. And the orbite came down next to me and up to a porthole, and it went to another dimension into the future. Wow. The most unbelievable experience I've ever had in my life. I was so wide awake. I was like, wow, man, I'm in dream time. I'm like, holy crap, what's going on? I'm feeling this relationship. I'm feeling love pouring all over me. I've never felt before in my life. I felt so much love pouring all over me after going through the worst event in my life and a transformation, then being told what I was told in the hospital. And then all of a sudden the Orbital Light comes in and does this. And like, I'm just, wow, feeling like a child myself, completely innocent, right? Don't know what's going on. Just blown away. So far, you can't explain it, right? People think you're crazy, right? Which is understandable. But I lie down and I'm just like, wow, man, I'm wide awake. Like, wow. What happened to me yesterday in hospital and what just happened to me now is just like mind-boggling. So mind-boggling. How do you explain this? You're not in charge of this. You're not in control of anything. And then this happens and the Orbital Light comes down next to me, right? And I'm just like, and then it turns to a portal and boom, I go straight through it, man. I go right through the ladder, right through the light hole, right through the light of the inner tunnel. And I look right through the other side and holy fucking snapping duck shit. It's 10 times more beautiful than anything I've ever felt. 10 times more love. It's like X-ray vision, X-ray feelings and hypersensitivity. It's like, and you're just feeling it, man. Not a word needs to be said. Not one word is said. It's like you feel everything, man. And you feel the love pouring all over you. You feel connection to all things in life, all things in nature. You feel the most powerful confirmation of love you've ever felt in your life. Holy snapping duck shit. So far beyond anything you've ever felt in your life. Higher than every highest feeling you've ever had in your life. Drugs, making love, you put it all together in the same basket. Won't even touch sides on this. Won't even touch sides on what you're feeling. Holy crap. There are no words on earth that you can express this feeling. You must experience it. But I went through the rebirth and crossover and holy crap. Holy snapping duck shit, man. What an experience that I never even dreamed about. And no one in the world have I ever heard explain this correctly, really. To be honest with you, my whole lifetime, and believe me, I know people. And I see people so artificial today and lost all their feelings, right? And this is how you regain them. This is a great transformation in your own DNA, in your own genetic process. And that's why I'm telling you, we all have the same genetic process. Bring Christ inside you, man, because this is how you fucking do it. This is how you do it. This is what I learned. I never read the Bible, never went to church. And I thought, how could I possibly be chosen? I said, mate, when God said, I've chosen you, you were developed from the day you were born. No, you must have the wrong person, mate. I've been a criminal my whole life. I've been a fucking bad cunt, mate. I've been a bad cunt. I'm a bad cunt rejected by everyone. I'm a bad cunt, man. I'm a bad person, bad person. No, son. I put you through this path for a reason. You were chosen, son. You were the one and only. For a reason, you had to go through this, son. I had to put you through this so you would know, because the others do not know Him. No one knows what you know, Kim. Nobody on earth knows what you know. I had to do this to you, Kim. I'm so sorry, but you knew when you were 2 years old. Don't you remember, Kim? Don't you remember when you drowned and butts up, what happened? I do remember. I don't remember being dead in this life here, but I remember having a dream I thought was a dream. And I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to come back here. I didn't want to come back here. I remember as a child, I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to come back. I didn't know why. I thought it was a bad dream. I told my mum and dad about this. I told my mum about the worst moment in her life in 1945 World War II when I was 5 years old. And she shit herself. She didn't know how to take it. She thought it was a freak of nature. I had all these abilities as a child, and people always said I was a freak of nature and always rejected me. And I didn't know why. I suffered the consequences, man. Boy, did I suffer the consequences. And, you know, you go through things in your life and you have experiences in your life, right? And I had plenty of them. And I got put through it for a reason. I had to go on ground level. I had to be rejected. I had to suffer. I had to watch my mates die in heaven, 3 dime arms. I had to go through everything I had to go through, right, to learn something about life that no one else knows, right? Because I didn't go through that the way I did. And I went through an extraordinary path. And through that path, I learned one of the most powerful things on earth, bread manna, right? The conduction nature of our sacred secretion and our natural abilities with divine power to command nature. The real truth, man. The real truth. And I learned on the streets. I learned in the underground world. I learned from this drug from a plant called Mayon, right? And I learned from two top sons from NASA with methamphetamine, right? What the organic one was. And when I learned all this crap, it brought me to this ability that I can't explain any other way. But I saw it. I saw it when all these people took drugs, right? And took the most powerful system. I saw it with my own two eyes. My drug was in every testing center. And that's what the Star Chamber was all about the abilities that we had that without smart maneuver them 7 to 1, that they couldn't work out. That's what I told you about direction microphones. I could feel the truth. They couldn't get me. I could always feel it. I could see remote viewing, and I had deja vu to predict the future, and they couldn't work it out. How come I was always 7 times faster? Because I had remote viewing and deja vu to predict the future. And I could block them in every angle they come from. And they couldn't work it out, right? They could not work it out. But that's what it's all about, right? And when you have faith in yourself, which you don't, because I didn't, right? I was always being confused by being rejected and the most rejected and blah, 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 blah. I'm going down that line for the next 6 hours. But take a look at the documents behind me and the mark on earth that I've left and all the things you can read about me, because it's phenomenal. And when I go through this in a 6.5 hour interview and told about all the documents they got on me and every single study done for 34 years and all the DNA evidence, right? You're lost for fucking words, mate, I can tell you that. You're more lost for words than you've ever been in your life. And then this happens the next day. Your blind comes to me, son, you now know you're one of a kind. You now know for a fact that documents have been developed so powerful that no one can discredit you. And they're scared of you, Kim. But I'm going to send you, when they deport you, I'm going to send you through the toughest phase of recognition system. I'm going to show you how I can fold space and time with AI and the most sophisticated system in the world, Kim. Because not only did you beat them when they try to take you and they try to kill you, you've beaten every single thing so far, Kim. And now you know you've restored 3 arteries when you had stents fitted, you grew in your arteries around. Now you know your arteries are better than ever. Now you know you were dead for 23 minutes. Now you know you're powerless from neck down and could not walk with the Neuralinks, and they proved it to you. But you got up and walked out, and they said you're one of a kind, and also they interviewed your wife you brought back to life in 1992, and what did they say to you, Kim? She told them that you're the one who brought back to life. That was her words that she was told to write in that poem. #1 poem for 8 months in 2003, the one and only. Think about it, Kim. Think about what's been happening here that you have no control of and you knew nothing about. Absolutely zero, Kim. And that's so true. It's unbelievable, man. I had no control of this. But you know, I had an angel watching over me, going through all this. No matter how you look at it. No matter how we talk about it. And it doesn't matter. If it's available to me, it's available to you. That's the whole point. You look at me from the underground world, a drug lord in and out in jail for 10 years, and the mental health research and DNA, you look at the whole lot. What does it tell you? It tells you a lot of things, right? We can all cross over, and this is available to every single one of us if we understand what the process is correctly. And what is it? It's righteousness. That's what it is. It's pure loyalty, honor, respect, morals, inspiration, and encouragement. It's a correct 8 tools. Okay? It's living by the quantum mechanic of a relationship. It's being innocent, not being in your personality or in your mentality. It's getting right out of that. Because that's what I broke free from, right? In a reincarnation trap and going through genetic process. And here's the evidence right here 3.5 years later. My genetic repair kit and molecules start to repair everything in my DNA beyond the fucking mind, and they couldn't work it out. But this is what they've done in that study. And they saw it with their own 2 eyes, right? In the big study done. And they couldn't work it out. Who can? There's only one influence that can do that. And it's the obvious that we're all missing so much. And that's what the whole point is. That's why I know the genuine resurrection, the genuine crossover, and take people through it with the book Freedom by Jim McGivers, the Holy Grail of Life, DNA, the Book of Life. Okay, that's what it's all about. The Declaration Book of Life. They found the last human beings that can do what Christ can and more. Okay, what Christ can and more. They found the last human beings that can do what Christ can and more. That means every one of those species that they found, which is 113 elect people, right? Elect people that can all do what Christ can and more, because we all have the same genetic process. So if you choose the right God to come into you and the correct tools, you too can do what Christ can and more with the same genetic memory and the same genetic process. You have to make that choice, right? You have to choose what you want to believe in and who you want to follow and which God you want to follow. Because believe me, it's not what you think. Okay, and I learned that the hard way. But also the greatest experience you could ever imagine to bring us through this. Well, I'm telling you now, the Father loves each and every one of you, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, and no matter what you believe in. And that's the most critical thing I'm here to tell you. You do not know what you're doing here, especially with religious, political cults and New Age cults. You don't know. Not with the mind. Think outside the mind, you can do what I can and more. That's what Christ said. Go back to your childhood. And believe me, I learned this the hard way and didn't read the Bible or ever went to church, but I was selected like this. And when you get it, you get it. You got it. And the first thing I realized when I went through this is that one thing came to me automatically that I knew. Christ always said, you do not know what you do in the mind. Think outside the mind and above and beyond the mind. And my God, I knew that from the drugs we developed in the 90s. The things you can do, and the things in these studies, and the things in the Gatekeeper report, right? In my own study, my own Gatekeeper report. I read that in 2004 in jail. Never read it before. And it shocked me what I read about myself. And I didn't really take it on board, like many things, because I couldn't accept it myself. I never believed what the cops said. I just thought they built the case up just to be nasty against me, to give me a heavy sentence. And I just thought everything's just built up with a load of bullshit, because normally everything is. But in this case, it wasn't. I was wrong. And when my wife first told me about the poem she written in 2003, we were separated when I was in jail, and she read me the poem and sent me a copy of the poem. When they come in and raided, they raided for my book and stopped my book, because I had the guns to disarm Australia and the top signers. That was what? Creating Hitler's plan. And we reversed their plan back in the 90s, right? And caused the biggest adverse effect. And that's what ARA is doing today, the plan. And I've been telling you a lot of things about this, what the plan really is. Okay? But it isn't about, okay, graphene oxide. It isn't about methamphetamine and the magic potion. What it's about the mentality living and making a natural selection. That's why what I went through, we learned through the Holy Breath of Life with When I Breathe in program, you recreate the sacred secretion. And the sacred secretion, as long as you eat the right molecules and the things I tell you to naturally select and get rid of all the artificial intelligence, because we are full of poison and toxic poison that conducts us with the mentality we live in. And we make unnatural selections. So many unnatural selections, you have no idea. That's why I put your 40-day process, right? So you get rid of all your unnatural selection and the parasites, delusion, parasitosis in every person in the world, right? That stops you from having your voltage reliability clockwise. So you got to get rid of the parasites and mentality you live in. Go through a 40-day process, right? The book Freedom by Jimmy gives on audio, and do win up every day to recreate the second secretion and restore the Holy Breath of Life, because it reactivates your Neuralink and activates your molecules. When you go through the powerful test of 40 days, you break free from your personality and go back in your innocence, and it's a big wow factor. And it's not funny. But you go for a transformation after this, then you're saved from that moment. Now you start to know yourself in your primordial being, back in your innocence. And then you start to think completely different outside the mind, like you see in the movie Limitless. A vortex of information that comes from out of the blue, the light bulb idea. And the light bulb idea, do I need to tell you more about the light bulb, for God's sake? Because the light bulb idea is so powerful, it's a portal into another dimension as well. And that's how powerful of the access that we have to different heavens and different parallel worlds, right? With a universal connection and a universal language. When you think instinctively outside the mind, you tune out the program, because it's only a program in your mind. So whatever's programmed into your mind is what controls you being on Earth, on anti-clockwise, and what they believe in the system, and the World Wide Web, and everything they've been signed into. And that's what the problem is. Most people are so artificial today, and unnatural selection, they have no idea what they're doing anymore, and most of them are beyond the point of zone. Declared on DNA studies done, and worldwide. Not too many people are going to get through this. Okay, not the correct way. Very few people will find their magnetic pulse and restore them with their biofields, biosphere. You have 32 senses and 27 don't work. And restoring them is the most critical thing with the sixth sense, the third eye. Okay, your sixth sense is your spirituality, not mentality. You need to get out of your mind and out of your personality, and you break free from that and go back in your spirituality. And you know what? It's a scary thing at first, but it's also a most beautiful moment at the same time. And you'll come through this. If you follow my platform and follow my followers and listen to their testimonies, you can see what they're going through. Everyone's going through different side effects. But take a look at Jay. Jay, I'm saying Jay because Jay went through a genuine possession, and really, when he got out of his vessel, the same way I pulled him out for this process, He went down to the light of the end tunnel like a death experience, and his vessel got up and walked away, and he got charged for trying to break in a car. So this shows you how deep the possession of your personality is when I take you out of the vessel into the light of the end tunnel, your spirit, your soul. And then you realize what your body really does. And that's why I say Jay himself, out of all the others that's gone through this, Lincoln, Philip, Tom, Nikki, and several others, Jay's the one that's got most grip of this, because he went through the hardest thing. And that was when he left this vessel, his soul went down to the light of the end tunnel, and I got him down there through that 40-day test. What did he see? He came back, and his vessel got up and walked over to a car and tried to steal a car and got arrested. So he went for a genuine side effect compared to everybody else. Everybody else only went to mildly to that point. That's why I know Lincoln is suffering a lot more than you think from good and evil, right? And he's not with it yet. He thinks he is, but he's not. He hasn't found that balance that Jay's got. And Jay is one that you got to give most credit to, because if you really listen to him, he really went through this hardcore. And he's stable, more stable than Lincoln and Philip and the rest put together. And I'm not saying they're wrong. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they're having a harder process to go through the transformation where Jay Oscar is the most balanced, especially when it comes out to going out on foot to pastors and preachers and giving his testimony. He is magnificent, right? He's really got up off his feet, off his ass, and gone out talking to people. And plenty of pastors and preachers, he gets rejected mostly. But I can tell you now, they're gobsmacked. Right? When you really understand what he's gone through, people get afraid of the truth. Pastors and preachers get afraid of what the real truth is. To break free from amnesia and the reincarnation and break free from the human experience that's being controlled by a personality and mentality you know nothing about, that's a powerful, powerful event that people are too afraid of. That's why Plato wrote in 15 books and talked about going through the light of the inner tunnel and going through every rabbit hole and going right down the cave. Going down the ladder is the correct expression in Plato and Jeremy Griffiths. Going through the ladder, Jacob's ladder, going through every porthole to the light of the inner tunnel. Going through the ladder, through the porthole, the sixth sense, right? For the light at the end of the tunnel, the porthole, right? And to get right through there with a genuine death experience is what you experience because your personality dies. And that's what Jay really got a grip of, his personality. He got a grip of his personality and he's balanced. And what happens when you get a grip of your personality? Then you become the master of the good and evil, the divine power, creation, destruction. You become the master of both gods. That's what Christ did for 40 days. And that's when he first discovered he was at 24. He said, I'm son of David, son of Abraham. And now he's the divine power to command nature. Divine power of, the God of creation, God of destruction. Because the two gods, it's the same God. Good and evil, one cannot exist without the other, yin and yang. When you understand that, you understand the Son, the Father. He's the most evil person. He is the God of this planet, and he is the Father at the same time. Okay, and that's why he's a Savior, right? He's the executioner, right? He's Archangel Michael. He's the Trinity. Archangel Michael represents the Trinity, right? Between the Son and the Father, and the Father would drive you into the Son to save you. He would take every evil thing and do every horrible thing that you give him consent to do. He is nefarious. The Son and the Father would both come to the cave of prison to tooth the masses. And the Pharisees came out of America, right? And I'm telling you now, it might be a documentary made and a movie made, but it's also a fact made in metaphor with the correct wording. I can promise you that. That movie is the most powerful nefarious movie because nefarious is an age of nefarious, which is an age of reasoning. And everyone believes in their own truth inside their mind with the age of reasoning and come to their own conclusion with reasoning, okay? Because you're told to do that to be competitive in the science with the educated knowledge, right? And it's the wrong adverse effect at anti-clockwise. It makes us selfish and egotistical and self-centered creatures like actors that want to make a name for ourselves. And that's what's been happening in the whole world with worse DNA into ourself. And we're trapped in our mentality, in ourself, in our personality. And breaking free from that is a hell of an experience. And you go right back to childhood. But trust me, it is the greatest experience in the world and becomes the greatest time to be alive when you really get it, because you are put through this to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and the end of the tunnel is our future where we create a heaven and earth in a new parallel world, in a new dimension, and a new era, a new crossover. And every mastermind in the world knows that, like Tibetan monks and Buddhists, they know this, okay? Winoff knows this, Mastermind Shi-Hing knows this, and Jeremy gives us the book Freedom. They know this, brother. And most people are so lost about this because they're giving too much consent, and you've got to go through this. That's why the book Freedom will save you beyond your mind, and you'll understand the Bible a lot better than mental. By going through this, by going through the suffering of the human condition and the serpents inside our mind, the demons in our mind, as John explains in Revelation, it's all hellfire in the skull, in the mind. And when you understand that, it's the demons in our mind, and you know what? They're just a personality. Christ's consciousness is a personality. Sounds heavenly, love and light, power, deceiving, and demonic at the same time, because it's only a personality. And the consciousness is unaware of the outside influence on our reality. That's why you can only 7 to 15% of your brain. We use 100%. And when you use 100%, you're free from everything. And it's not in here. It's outside. It's thinking above and beyond the mind. And when you get it, you got it, baby. Right? And it's not what you think. It's not grammar. And it's not educated knowledge. And most religious pastors and preachers are getting this all wrong worldwide, because they're also trapped in the same kind of mentality in book smart education and in a comfort zone without even realizing it. But everyone's getting younger with gene defects worldwide, with delusional parasitosis, molegolems, and that's the hostile entity that we've given consent to, the boogeyman. And the boogeyman's in all of us, all right? And when you understand how to go through this, you become the power of your own vessel, you become the master of your own vessel, and you take control of the two serpents. Christ, right? This is what I learned. Christ talks to a cross and two serpents, right? Two angels. And they, you know, there's not a lot of videos about talking about how could a cross come and talk to Christ, a cross talking to Christ. They've all got the concept wrong, the metaphor. It's a mentality that I mean. Everyone's become so literal with grammar and scientific fiction, right? And if you look at everything about Alex Jones today and what he's explaining, this is just all the science behind what everything's always been all about since the days of Babylon with the pharaohs, right? And magic potions, right? And these people that uses godlike power and cheats the system with pharma. That's what all these wizards were all about with their magic potions and their crystal balls to see into the future the same way, always cheating. And, you know, Christ had this ability, so did all the disciples and the same bloodline in DNA, the book of life. So we follow the right footsteps. We have the same genetic process organically, and we make natural selection and natural order in life, and that's living of the tree of life with sevenfold wisdom and knowledge. And that's a new timeline we're coming into, a crossover between 220 and 227, and the end days of 27 September 227, exactly 2,000 years when Christ was placed by John, 27 September 27, and that's a crossover where things go into massive extinction, and the rest of us go into a new dimensional field, right? Where everything becomes perfect in their sixth sense. Those that think Extinction Rebellion in their program, those that use their sixth sense, their spirituality, will have a weapon in their biofields in such a way that no weapon from their can prosper. And you have the power, divine power to command nature and repair everything in DNA and never suffer mental disorder defects ever again, and no more death experience. By having faith and bringing Christ into your heart, bring the Father into your heart. The Son is your Savior for a reason. The Father is a God of this planet. Christ tells you that. He goes for the 40-day test, and he goes out in the desert without eating for 40 days. He meets the demon head on, which is the Father, the God of this planet, and he offers him everything in this world, and he refuses it. Because the Father's God, right? The Father's a Savior in him at the same time. That's why it's the same Father. And I learned that from my childhood. The Father came to scare the living shit out of me, right? Like this. And then the Son came in to save me. Exactly what happened with Fabian when he went home. And exactly what happened when I wrote 3 official documents. Then I get unlawfully deported to Denmark, get a 6-page warning letter that I cannot travel anywhere. My facial recognition by the biggest security system in the world, and I cannot travel anywhere, no matter what I do. Two and a half interview. Then I get back in the international airport, go through 6 events, go back in Australia, and bingo, God did it. He proved that the whole system, he gave the divine power, right, to fold space and time. I'm not on one camera, every other passenger is. I'm on CCTV outside, and the JP's confirmed it, especially in Brisbane. He owns a red GTO Mustang. In a conversation we had, and border security walked in. Now think about Jan's accident. Okay, Dr. Wright, the biggest heart and lung transplant, first heart and lung transplant in the world that owns an award. He was an atheist, so was a psychiatrist. When this happened with Kathy, right, they wrote a big article in the paper, and they changed the whole face. And I saw Dr. Wright at the bottom cancer floor 3 years later. I said, "What are you doing down here, Doctor?" He said, "I come down here about half an hour every day," he says. He said, "Ever since we confirmed that," he said, "Kim, I believe in life after life. So I come down here to save people that's dying from cancer right before they die, not after they die, right? Okay? And when you understand this process, right, my mother and my brother, my mother didn't tell me about the worst moment in her life in 1945 in World War II, because I asked her what happened, thinking it was me. She lied to me for 50 years. My brother never told me about the fact he was sent back from heaven to earth because of me. And then on the 27th of January, 2017 is the day that I got sent back for the international airports. And 11 months earlier was my grandson's birthday when I wrote the documents when that happened. When Fabian went home and the documents were written, that I was getting sent out. And God was going to send me back for the international airports. And he does. On my son and my grandson's birthday, we're all born the 27th. And that's the most critical number, book Revelation 27, right? Holy Spirit, divine light. That's what it is. And that's why it's developed all our birthdays. I come back for the international on the 27th of January, right? 2017, exactly 27 years later to the day that Kathy told Yan that the others were lost and getting one more final chance. And she was the only one that made it. And he was sent back to heaven because of me, sent back to earth. And I didn't know. And it was exactly 20 years later that day. And that day is when the JP at Brisbane Airport confirmed that he owned a red GTR Mustang and had a great conversation with me about XY GTs. I said, I'm coming back to look at Australian Mustang. I said, I'm a Ford man too, I own a red GTR Mustang. And I'm on CCTV outside, and it's fully confirmed by Border Security. He was an atheist, didn't believe me at first. I said, go have a look at 3 documents. He said, okay, I found them. But you know, my camera came out to explain that. We need to know how you got in. And after this massive confirmation, I said, go look at all the CCTV outside. Go talk to the JPs, especially Brisbane International Airport, and ask him, does he own a red GTR Mustang? Because I bet he does. We had a conversation about it. He confirmed it's solid, right? And what does he do? He comes in, and you will never see a prison or anywhere at Border Security come into any detention centre alone, not without 4, 5, 6 crews. He came in by himself with the pastor, Sarah. And Sarah was at the detention centre in Brisbane in 2017. Confirm it. Sarah will tell you she had a massive divine intervention, and she knew I was specially chosen and came in with the head of Border Security, white as a ghost. And he's an atheist on the phone going, Kim, I need to know how you got in. You nearly had me, but I'm an atheist. I read the letters, but you're not on my camera, Kim, so how did you get in? He comes in there, white as a ghost and quiet as a baby's bun, like he's lost for words with silence. And what did he do? He came to see Sarah. When he confirmed this, it was the most powerful confirmation for the all-seeing eye, which is the World Wide Web, the international security system. The most powerful confirmation on earth. Fully confirmed. I'm on CCTV outside every event. 6 international events. But I'm not on one camera, every person there is. How do you explain it? I can't. I can only tell you what is told to write and what happened. But these are facts. And he comes walking in with the pastor. And the pastor's sitting there smiling. She said, oh, Kim, he's changed his whole mindset. And I had a divine intervention. I told him, I had a very powerful divine intervention last night. He said, wow, really? So this is real? Yeah, it's real. And he came in with her alone. What a moment. What a moment to see him come in. And I can tell you, you know how atheists normally react, especially someone that's a boss like this? Mate, he was fantastic. He looked at me like he saw an angel, man, and it blew my mind away. The way that he was acting, the way that he was, wow. I'd never expected to see a person in his position, anything like this. What a moment, man. What a moment. Then I'm moved by Peter Dutton, who unlawfully deported me, right? Who couldn't explain the mainstream media. 55 of us that got to know me there in 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks. They were in tune with me, I can tell you, and the pastors. And also all my family and friends that came in to visit me. My mum came in to visit, friends came in, and they were like blown away, and talked to them about it. But I want you to listen to me. I got removed with 55 officers that worked there, and they only moved people with 2, 3 or 4 people in a detention centre. 55 officers that was working there in the middle of the night, which they never do. Body cam and dictaphones. Somebody was very worried after these events, okay? After this explanation, the most powerful confirmation, somebody was very worried. And what happened was amazing. We go to the tarmac at Brisbane Airport, International Airport, and it's closed down at 2 o'clock in the morning. You could drop a pin there. And I'm escorted by 55 officers, right? And then all of a sudden, they all get a back gut feeling they wouldn't get on the plane. They would not get on the plane, right? And then one of the guys said, Kim, can you please talk to them? Who, me? Yes, Kim, they won't get on the plane. They're worried about getting on the plane. Now, this is what I've been told. They knew it was the most powerful confirmation. They knew the vibrations, right? And the atmosphere I changed in there, right? And talked about it so much, and I talked to nearly all of them. They knew. They felt it. But then they do what they're told, right? Regardless of the most powerful confirmation that they knew, the most powerful confirmation, they still did what they were told. So this is what I was told by the Father. Because they continue to do what they were told, he was the one that went in affairs on all of them and gave them the most dreadful feeling, and they got a bad gut feeling and got sick and wouldn't get on the plane, and it spread like a virus and affected all of them. Then I'm asked to come out. I'm asked to come out. And when I come out, on dictaphones and body cams, it's all being filmed. And you got to think about this, because it blows my mind away beyond your belief. And I'm not in control here at all. Not me. But in that moment, what does the Father do? He makes them, right, shit themselves because they perform their duty, even knowingly. They do what the Antichrist tells them. They do what the Antichrist tells them, no matter what. No matter what, they do what they're told, right? So they get sick with nefarious and shit scared like they all saw the boogeyman. And then I become the light. I become the one at the front stairs going out to the front of the staircase and looking down and said, don't worry guys, this is not your decision, right? And God will never hurt anyone. That's not what he does. I will save you rather than hurt you. Don't you realize that? I'm not the one that'll hurt you. But you do what you're told. That's the problem here. That's what's giving you a bad gut feeling, is that you're working against it when you know. But I'll never hurt you. God will never hurt you. God will never bring the plane down. Then they got on. And when they got on, they were happy as Larry, just like Fabian, just like when I was a child. Shit scared, and then happy as Larry. And you wouldn't believe it. It's all on dictaphones. It's all on body cam. And wow. When you realise something, right, with what me and Maren's gone through a week ago and what we go through and what we've all gone through, it's a mindset we're in, right? Think about how negative the world is and how artificial it is, and how many actors in the world, right, that are controlled by the same parasites. Do not know what they do. And you know what? It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not easy. It gets to you. And it gets to me too. It gets to Maren. It gets to everybody. It's powerful. But you have the power above that. You have the power far beyond that. That's the whole point here. That's your lesson here. This is the testimony you need to hear, that you all have the power, right, to tune right out of this, to tune right out of the program. But you have to be in the right impulse. You have to be innocent and selfless, and you have to go through this test. 40 days, you have to stop unnatural selection, all right, and create the natural selection like this with the book freedom. And when I breathe and bring him the holy breath of life and the holy grail of life, trust me. Trust me. It's me that's leading with DNA studies. I know better than anyone. I'm the primordial being here, no matter how you look at it, and it's not my fault. It's facts, and I put through this process to take you through this. And it works. Trust me. Watch my followers. Watch those that go through this. The great resurrection, the great rebirth, the great crossover. Most people are finding another comfort zone and hasn't gone through it and think they have. Only done an 18 or 24 or 28 day test and never really went through it, but they've got a lot of things. And like I told you, okay, take Lincoln. Lincoln was stubborn. Most people are. They go through every single rabbit hole right to the light of the inner tunnel, but they don't cross over. They think they know, and they're too balanced, and they've never gone through the inflection point. And when they have not gone through the inflection point, then they still don't know, because it's one point they're all afraid of. And the most stubborn people in the world are the ones that are right at the inner tunnel and got everything right except for one thing. And they're the ones that are most stubborn. That's why Jay was easy to get through this. And he was the most easiest to balance up. Where Lincoln, right, and even Philip. Philip's doing fine. Philip's feeling love every day and really connected, but not quite in balance himself. He's still a baby and a big teddy bear, right, as he says. And he's still living that moment. But he's got to get a bit more balance himself. Lincoln, he's having a much harder time than he's willing to admit. Okay, but he'll get through this. It's a transformation that everyone's going to go through. But those that are stubborn, hasn't gone through the right test, and think that they know, will never know. Not when they're trapped there. Trust me, Lincoln can verify that. Okay, people's only done 18 to 21 days and hasn't gone through the right inflection point. They don't know what they're missing out on, but they think they do. That's their biggest trap. They still believe in mortality, even though they balance themselves and got a lot of things sorted out. They haven't got to the following points. They haven't crossed over and gone right back in their primordial state, right back in the innocent of childhood, and faced every single thing and faced their own personality like Christ did. He faced the devil head on. And that's when he woke up from amnesia and realized that he is what? Son of David, son of Abraham. That's when he goes through a genetic process with a whole different way of thinking that's way outside the mind and not in the mind. That's what people miss here. You've got to go through this correctly, and believe me, right, the rebirth, the crossover is the most magnificent thing. But if you are trapped in your mind, right, and you really do believe you know, and you haven't gone through this, then you don't know what you're missing out on either. Remember that. Your decision becomes your own judgment. Never forget that.